Good morning. I'm Jamie Bevins. I've been teaching for 34 years and I am planning on sharing with you some of the lessons that I taught in the classroom. I taught high school, so these would be appropriate for high school and possibly even middle school. So I'm so glad that you could join me for this series of videos. Let's get started. First thing you're going to need is subject matter. Choose something simple, something that you can concentrate on the painting part of it and not necessarily the drawing part. So once you've decided on your subject matter, you're going to take either a really good photograph that you can work from, or you're going to work from real observation. So before you get started, just to have a clear idea of where you want to go with this, you should ask yourself some key questions. How can I paint without brushes? How can I paint with materials other than paint? How can I show form without using white paint? And how can line be used to embellish that painting? If you're watching this, I'm hoping that you will be prepared to paint along with me or to take the idea and paint when I'm done. Once you've chosen your subject matter, to get started, you should have thumbnail sketches. 3 is a good number to work with. You want at least 3 so that you're not choosing your very first attempt. And before you begin drawing, you should think about questions and write those questions down in your sketchbook because they will drive some of the imagery that you draw. Once you have your sketches, consider also blocking value because that's going to help you decide where your lights and darks are, and it will help you paint better. All right. We've got our thumbnail sketches, we've got a basic idea, we've chosen a really simple composition with fruit. So let's draw this out real quick on your paper. And stiff paper is probably going to be best, but if you don't have stiff paper, any kind of paper will work. So I'm going to do this very quickly, very loosely, because it's all about the paint and not necessarily the image, right? My composition is going to have some peppers here. Maybe a leaf. There might be another pepper back over here. And some, I guess these are plums. I'm not sure. So we've got plums over here. And I've got the little thing there, and maybe another leaf or two. And of course this may change a little bit as I start painting. So the main part of this demonstration is to show you how I'm going to paint. First thing I'm going to do is pour out my colors. And in pouring out my colors, I have squirted out very, very little paint. And I'm using tempera paint today, but you could use those really cheap little craft paints you get at Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, any of those wonderful craft stores. So that will work, or you can get inventive. We'll talk about that later. So I have my palette, set that aside, and then I have what I call spreaders. These are little bits of cardboard. Actually, these are matte board pieces. And I can cut them the size that I think I might need them. Okay? So So I have one that's about an inch, and that's what I'm going to be mainly working with. But when I get to the little tricky parts, I want something a lot thinner, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And I'll set that aside for a second. Now, if you don't have heavy-duty cardboard or mat board, old key cards from hotels, cut those up, and they make great little scrapers, okay? Product boxes, that will work, you know? There's all kinds of things that you can come up with. Paper plates, yeah. All right, so here is the trick. The first thing that I need to do is take a look at my fruit here, my subject matter, whatever your subject matter may be, and discover where that bright spot of light is hitting. You don't want to put any paint in that area. In other words, here's the other essential question. How can I paint without white? Right, so we need to let the paper be our white paint. So, I'm going to come in with my yellow, and I'm going to kind of just scrape very loosely. There's going to be gaps and gaps of white when I do this. And the trick is to leave those gaps of white. I think one of the mistakes our beginning painters make is they want to cover the whole thing with color. I'm going to grab a little bit of orange because this hair that I have has kind of more of a rich color to it than just yellow. So I think a little orange with that yellow is going to be just great. And I'm going to get my paint on here. Yeah. Oh, that's looking great. Yeah, right? Right. And again, I kind of stayed away from where that white area is. That highlight and image light and reflective light. Yeah. Okay, so we need to talk about shadows. And this is where a little bit of color theory comes into play, right? I'm going to choose a little bit of purple and my yellow. Now, why would I choose those two colors together? If you said complementary colors, you go to the head of the class. Yay! Okay, so I've got some shadow areas right in here. And I'm going to squirt just a little bit of that. Squirt. Wrong choice of words there. I'm going to push in that dark area. And I've got a few little spots, you know, in the center here. And I have a cast shadow that happens right where that pepper's hitting, right? So I'm going to come in. And notice I picked up a little bit of orange this time too. And I'm going to put just a little bit of a cast shadow right in there. Right? Yay. Great. Perfect. Voila. Now the trick is, do I want to do anything else? That's totally up to you, but I think for right now I'm finished. I don't want to do a little bit of dark right there around where the stem is. Again, I don't want to overpaint. So this is what I have so far.
Calligraphy is the art of beautiful writing. For this next step, we're going to use a calligraphic line, kind of based on the idea of calligraphy, to embellish our painting. It's not necessary, but it just kind of helps, and it's a good way to incorporate line and drawing into your painting. So to begin, you'll either need India ink, or you can also use tempera paint or a fluid paint. That will work as well. You dip your brush in, and as you are going around your objects, you can press the brush down for a thicker stroke and very lightly let the brush touch the surface for a really thin, delicate stroke. You also want to consider implied line when you're doing this. Implied line is where there might be a gap in the line that might help indicate light source or a burst of light.
So now that you've finished, what's next? Well, let's say that you didn't have paint to begin with, and so you didn't even get started. You can take a look in your refrigerator. There's all kinds of things in there that will create color. Go outside. Flower petals, when crushed and rubbed onto the paper, will create color. And if you can't find blue, because there is no blue in nature, you might try a bag of M&Ms or Skittles, and you can dampen the surface of one of those and get color that way. So there's a lot of different things you can do to get color. And when you've exhausted that idea, what next? I love shopping at the dollar store because you can find all kinds of fun things. You know, fingernail polish or Play-Doh. And here you go, my creation in Play-Doh. I hope you enjoyed this video.